So I was on an assessment call the other day, and she had said on the call that she was dealing with burnout, very overwhelmed, and she felt like a bad friend. She was like, I haven't seen my friends in so long. When I come home from work, I don't have the capacity to even really connect with my partner. She's like, I feel like a bad friend.
Welcome back to another episode of the Higher Alignment Podcast, where high performers come to grow without stress, shame, or burning out. I'm Mintu Lamb, and I'm here to help you work smarter, live fuller, and feel like yourself again. If you're tired of running on empty, book your complimentary assessment call at higheralignmentconsulting.com/program, and let's figure out what's draining your energy and what you can do to start feeling happy and peaceful once again. You can find the link in the show notes. Now let's get into the episode.
I wanted to talk about this today because this is something I commonly hear with people who are in a burnt out state. I experienced it for years, honestly. I lived that way. And I wanted to help make sense of it for you because what typically comes up is you just self shame and self judge. I'm a shitty friend. Like, I don't call my friends back. I cancel all the time. I dread going to things, or I feel guilty if I don't show up for people. And it just, we're if you're a high achiever, you're so hard on yourself, And so when it comes to people that you love and that you care about, and when you can't be your best for them, you just tend to judge and shame yourself and then kind of retract into a hole, right? Like it usually starts out as you try to show up for everything and then eventually you realize you can't. So then you're go to is your spouse is sick and you can't show up, or you find some type of excuse to cancel last minute or whatever the case is because you just don't have the capacity, right? And I want to talk about this today because you're not broken. You're not a bad person. Okay. You're just spent. Your capacity is shot. And I think is confusing about it is because when we're in that state where we're so dysregulated and burnt out, honestly, what is usually really soothing is connection, but the way in which we think we have to have connection or the way we think we need to show up in connection is what ends up draining us. Okay. And that's where the issue typically lies or the problem lies is again, back to being perfectionists and control freaks. We think it has to look one way or we don't show up at all. Right? So let's dive into that for a little bit. First off, if you're a high achiever, you were probably taught to perform versus connect, or more so, you were rewarded for performance versus connection. Okay, so let me explain. When you were a child, the way you got praise or the way you felt validated from your caregivers, your parents, whoever, was typically by what you accomplish, your good grades, your dance competition, your how many goals you scored, any of these things, which are great things we do want to praise kids for. But as kids, our brains don't know how to make sense of things differently. So we take things from a very one dimensional place, if you will. We're not thinking about the fact that oh, mom and dad love me no matter what. We're thinking about the fact that oh, when I bring home an A, I get a little extra love and a little extra attention. So we keep diving into that, right? And then what happens is as we get older, that same survival strategy, that same performance strategy, validation strategy, whatever you want to call it, now translates into how we operate in the business world. So when I finish a project, when I get a promotion, when I get a raise, when I land a new client, I get a quote unquote pat on the back. I get some praise, some connection, some love. So then, therefore, you double down on that strategy, right? So you're not necessarily praised when you're young for having good communication or saying, "Mommy, I actually need a break. I'm tired," right? And you don't get rewarded for saying "Oh, honey, I'm so glad that you were able to vocalize that to me that you're tired and you need a nap." That's and it's not a knock to our parents or whoever, but it's just the reality. We're not Kids aren't typically reinforced or uh, applauded or praised when they just voice their needs. And again, I'm not knocking your parents, it's just the truth. So then as you get older, when you need a break or you need a hug or you need some attention or some love and care, whatever the case is, you've never been rewarded for saying it before. So it's like, why would you say it now? Right. So then let's take it back to the fact that you're burnt out, you're exhausted, you just got home from work and you've been on all day and now you have this dinner to go to. And the last thing you can think about is connecting with your friends and being open and honest and sharing what's going on. So you just cancel. Okay, if you're an executive who's craving more clarity, happiness, and a sense of real inner peace in your day to day, make sure you hit follow so you never miss an episode. This show is here to help you lead, succeed, and actually feel good while doing it. And if something resonates today, give it a like and share it with someone else who could use a little bit more calm in their life too, right? It's just purely because your nervous system is shot. You don't have the capacity. You're like a live wire. And if anything touches it, zap. You're going to zap, right? Now, what I want to draw attention to is that the actual remedy for this is connection. Okay. When you're in that state where you're so dysregulated that you have no capacity except to like just lay on the couch after work and doom scroll, like that's where you're at. You're just like out and just like, no one talk to me, no one text me, no one just stay away. I just need to like decompress is what we usually say. When you're in that state, the remedy for that is connection, but where you want to start is with yourself. Friends and family can help, yes. But at the end of the day, that is a connection that you don't have control over. And that's not a connection that's necessarily always going to be there. But what's always going to be there is you. So when you're in that state, it's a call from your body for self connection. Okay. Now you're probably thinking, Mintu, what does that mean? Like, what does self connection mean? Like, I'm with myself all day. We're connected. What are you talking about? Right. Self connection doesn't just mean like, hey, I'm in my body and going through the motions every day. Self connection means actually having a relationship with yourself. Okay. And being in tune with what's going on within you. Now, it is sometimes not just enough to just be like, well, I'm exhausted and tired. That's what's happening with me. Okay. So, just like any other relationship, if you had a friend that was exhausted and tired, if you had a spouse, a kid, or whatever, you'd probably ask some deeper questions. Okay, honey, you're exhausted and tired. Why is that? I had a long day at work. Okay. What can I do to help you? What do you need right now? Right? Like, if anyone else around you was going through these things, they're exhausted, they're overwhelmed, or whatever the case is, you would ask, how can I help you? How can I support you? Self connection is doing that for yourself. Okay. So that's when you are on the couch at the end of the day after a long day, that's taking a moment to be like, hey, what do you need? And then it's listening to that inner voice. Now, you guys have heard me talk about this. That inner voice is not going to be the voice that says, I need you to get this done so we can get this ahead for Friday and get this email that like it's not going to be a logical like plan. That's not what you need. That's what your adult survival brain has told you that you need. But what you actually need is going to be a basic need. A hug, some food, a bathroom break, some sleep, some joy, some play. Like that's what you actually need, right? So what at the end of the day when you're exhausted and you're laying on the couch, you got to ask yourself, what is it? And if you just get really quiet and listen to that voice, it'll tell you, I need a break. And then the break can be, okay, well, you're getting it right now, laying on the couch scrolling. That's not a genuine break. A break is conscious, it's intentional, right? It's allowing yourself to actually go and have space without thinking about anything. It's putting your phone down. It's going to have a bath. It's saying no to things at work. It's taking your lunch break in the middle of the day. Like that's what a break is. You don't want to give yourself a break as a default to the fact that you're burnt out. right? Like think about it again in the context of another relationship. Maybe it's a kid or your spouse. It's like only once you're really tired and exhausted am I going to give you a break, kid, right? Like if your son or daughter came to you and said, "Mommy, I'm tired." Like, okay, you know what? When you clean your room, when you do your homework, when you rake the leaves, when you do all these things, and then once you're super super exhausted and tired, then I'll give you a break. Sounds a little psychotic, doesn't it? But that's what we do for ourselves. We make ourselves jump through these hoops and like prove that we need this break before we actually give it to ourselves. And then sometimes we don't even give it to ourselves because now when we're in survival mode and our brain can't make sense of whether things are actually like urgent or not and whether we can give ourselves a break. And before you know it, we have 20 things on our to do list and a break doesn't even seem possible because the body now has adapted to survival, right? So that is self connection. Self connection is not doing it just when things are broken down. Self connection is a consistent relationship that you have with yourself. Okay. That's asking yourself every day, how are you? Do you need anything? That's giving yourself a break, not when you're desperate and stuck on the couch, giving yourself a break actively because you know that's what you do for someone that you love or someone that you care about or like someone that you want longevity out of. Like again, even just think as an employer, you're not going to give like imagine never giving your staff a lunch break. And you'd be like, okay, well, I expect to have turnover every 3 months then, probably less. I'm never even offering a lunch break. That'd be ridiculous. Yet you don't give yourself one, right? Self connection is about having a relationship with yourself where you treat yourself the way you treat people that you love. And yes, that's talking kind to yourself and holding yourself accountable, but that's just like by actionable behavior, right? So to tie this back to what I said about like when you feel like a bad friend because you have zero capacity, that sign that you aren't seeing your friends or you are not making time for the people you love, like that's just a, a, a signal that you actually first need to give that connection to yourself. Okay. Once you give that to yourself, you will create capacity and space in your body to be able to do those things. But the type of connection yourself that you give yourself is key. This is not scrolling on your phone. This is not just like um, having a glass of wine. This is not just like watching TV and a movie. I'm not saying it can never be that, but there has to be an interactive and an integrated relationship with yourself, right? Again, how would I interact and have connection with my loved one? How would I have that with my child? That's a type of relationship you need to have with yourself. And this might sound weird. And you might be like, Mintu, I don't even understand how. We'll just start with the basics of what I just said. When you see that stuff now playing out in your external world, it's been an issue longer than you've realized. When you get to the point of not wanting to connect with your loved ones, that's just a sign that you've been so disconnected from yourself for so long that now it's bleeding into your other relationships. All right, guys, quick pause. If this episode is hitting home, I created a free burnout quiz that takes less than 2 minutes. It helps you pinpoint exactly how burnout shows up for you and what shifts you can take to start feeling happier, calmer, and more in control. Most executives tell me the results feel eerily accurate, so head over to the link in the show notes and you can take the quiz there. Again, the basic place you can start is just by checking in with you. And once you start to do that, you'll realize that you can actually save a lot of time, a lot of energy. You'll give yourself more capacity. You'll actually get back into a place of wanting to have connection with other people again and being able to do it in a genuine way where you can be present. You can listen to them. You can hold space for them. They can do the same for you. You don't have to show up at your dinner dates with a mask on. I remember living like that, where it's like I'd show up and I'd still be on corporate Mintu, right? Like pretending everything's great and like always done to the nines and all these things, like just wearing a mask constantly, where like you're never really letting anyone in, being highly critical or judgmental or giving stark opinions on things and situations. because again, you don't have the capacity to actually hold space for people as human beings because you haven't been doing that for yourself. Like, I remember not only just like canceling on things or not showing up for things, I just remember showing up to these things being a bitch. And like my friends would never say I was a bitch because I don't think that's like what it came across to them as. But internally, I would just be like self judging all the time or judging them a lot. And that's hard to say out loud. Like that feels yucky. But I wasn't judging them from a place of like, I really like was being a bad person. I was judging them because I was like so disconnected from myself that I was constantly judging me and the way I was living that it was just getting like passed off onto other people. And it wouldn't come across to them as judgment. It would come across to them as like me just being like holding them super accountable, like giving a really harsh judgment about a boyfriend or being like, why would you do that? You know, he's going to be like this. And like most of the times my opinions are probably accurate. I'm being right. Like the dude probably wasn't for them, but I wasn't saying it in a kind way. Right. Like it was really harsh. But then also, there's been times in my life where I've been able to deliver that same information where it's like I have friends that like really weren't in situations that were healthy for them, but I could say it in a very grounded way where it's like, hey, like you don't deserve this. Like there's like you deserve so much better and say it in just in a way where like I can say it with love versus like being super harsh towards the person or the situation. You know what I mean? And it was never because I was a bad person or didn't have a good heart in the process. It was just capacity. My nervous system was shot. So my ability to deliver things or hold space was just non existent. So, my point in saying all this is if you're in a state right now where you feel like that or you're going through these things, you're not a bad person. Your nervous system just needs some love. You need some love. You need some self connection. And I will tell you right now, that is probably the like it sounds simple, but it's something we are not taught or even like educated on. And so it's going to feel weird and awkward. And you're going to be like, do I really have to do this? Like, I'm in my body all day. Like, how much more connected can I be? I am telling you now with every fiber of my being, I've been doing this for a while now. I've tested it on all my clients and every time get an amazing result out of it. And you've heard me say it before and you hear everyone say it, but the relationship with yourself is the number one relationship you will ever have. And it dictates the relationship with everyone around you, the type of partner you attract, the type of relationship with your kids or your parents or your coworkers. Like, if you want healthy relationships, you have to have a healthy relationship with yourself. And it's something that needs constant work. Just like any relationship, you have to constantly be pouring into that bucket. I go through an exercise with my clients where it's called like dating yourself essentially. And there's 4 buckets you have to pour into, which are love, communication, effort, and trust. If you start dating someone new, if you're starting to have a new friendship with someone or even like a work relationship, there are things that you have to do to earn the trust and respect of that relationship. And if you really want it to be a great relationship, or if we're talking a potential life partner or something, even a business partner, there are things that you need to do to like invest in that relationship. And it's never ending, it's constant, right? Anyone you talk to who's been married 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years is going to tell you it's a constant investment. And it's the same thing with the relationship with yourself. Because if you stop investing in that relationship with yourself, you'll wake up one day looking in the mirror and be like, who is that? I see a shell of a person. And that's not a fun place to be. And and no knock if you're in that point or at that point, no knock if you've experienced that. I've experienced that. But like it doesn't have to get to that point if you just stay on top of that relationship. And it's just a little check-in every day. It's just a little check-in of what do you need, how are you feeling, and then fulfilling that. When you need a break, when you need some connection, when you need some love, when you need to go have some fun, do it. Do it. Like I came off the craziest October of my life. You guys have no idea. The craziest October of my life. And guess what's up for November? Nothing. I have nothing booked, okay? Like aside from like my normal business as usual, but as far as like extra events, things on the weekends, I have nothing booked. And I'm so happy about it. Okay. But that's because October was a lot of intentional energy given to other things. So November is going to be a lot of intentional energy given back to myself. I know how it makes my machine tick efficiently now. I know what I need. So, like, I didn't book anything for this month. I don't want to. And maybe some things might come up, cool, but I don't have anything planned beyond my regular day to day business activities and life activities. It's empty, and I'm so excited about it. But I also know that's the level of connection I need with myself at this point in my life to maintain the life that I've built and to continue going in the direction I want. And that also creates space that if me and my friends want to get together or Thomas wants to take me somewhere or whatever the case is, we can do it because I have the capacity because I've spent enough time with myself. If I haven't spent enough time with myself, all those other things will start to suffer. Okay? So come back to you, check in with you. And I promise if you do that, everything will get better.